Hello and welcome back to Hungry Talks episode 7. I'm your host Asha.
And I'm your other host, Anna. Before we start tonight's episode, RMIT University want to acknowledge the people of the Woiwurrung and Boonwurrung language groups of the Eastern Kulin Nation on whose unceded lands we conduct the business of the university.
RMIT and Hungry Talks respectfully acknowledges their ancestors and elders, past, present and emerging. Now we're going to start with this week's fan art. We've been pretty blown away, lots of responses. So...
I'm absolutely loving these. Jason, thank you so much for this masterpiece. Hungry Baby, you know, he's in space and I love it. Advertising Max, you're a true talent. And you know, this one looks like a podcast cover. Maybe we could start a podcast, Asha, after Hungry Talks is over.
I don't think people would tune in.
I don't think people would tune in either, but it would be
Fun to just go on rants. You can tune in for more chaotic content if you guys wanted. I must say, though, the weekly comic is my ultimate favourite, and I'm just on the edge of my seat wondering what Hungry Baby is going to do next.
I probably can't really read it. We'll have to chuck it on the Insta so you can see it.
True.
But loving the second episode of the comic Cooper. A sneaky reference to my Hinge profile in there. Didn't go unnoticed. Jason, Hungry Baby is looking ravishing. Some colour wouldn't hurt, but I love the nod to his space outfit from last episode. Advertising Max, you've outdone yourself. I absolutely love the 2000s design, keeping in theme. We are looking like kind of children's cartoons, I think, from some Nickelodeon show.
Fairly Odd Parents,
Yeah,
I
very
think.
Fairly Odd Parents vibes.
Odd Parents, Fairly Odd Parents.
We won't sing any more tonight, I promise. There will be a Kahoot next week to repay you for your artistic talents. We love it. Let's have a look at some DM's fan art now. So cute. Dim and Maddie looking hella cute in these. We've also got a few little video fan arts of these two hotties. We'll pop on the Insta at some stage.
Yeah, massive shout out to Angel. Thank you, darling.
The video was cute. It's
Yeah.
not up here, but yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this week's sponsor is taking up a lot of the desk. It's maybe less of a staple than most of our others, but it's a true 2000s vibe. We've got an At Home with Your PC book. It's kind of just details how to use a computer. Also, you might notice there's an extra baby on the desk. Pitch night team, we've kidnapped your baby.
He's being held hostage.
Yes. If you don't send in fan art to us, we will keep your baby.
Help me.
Hungry Baby's feeling a little bit threatened by the presence of
Yeah.
an extra baby, but it's fine. Anyway, back to the sponsor. So we've got this At Home with Your PC book. Very outdated. This is some of the content inside it. It's great.
We found the graphics they were just
Right on.
The best.
The best, yeah.
just screams 2000s energy.
It's so good.
It's so funny.
This is like one of my favourites. We had a good time looking through these.
It's so funny. All right. Well, this week we're going to be looking at working internationally. Joining us from Sydney to help us chat through his experiences is Cam Blackley.
Welcome, Cam. It's very nice to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Ooh, is he going to pop up? There we go. Hello.
Beautiful.
There you go.
Live and direct from the world's messiest office, so I apologise for that.
Stunning. Love it.
I love it. I love it. Well, for those who don't know, Cam is the Chief Creative Officer at M&C Saatchi Australia and Chairman of Australasian Writers and Art Directors Association, better known as Award. He has found success working not only in Australia, but in London and New York, working with an impressive client list including Tourism Australia, Aldi, Cadbury, VB, Puma, Kids Helpline, BWS and Football Federation Australia, just to name a few. Additionally, his work for New York Department of Education received a black pencil, and most importantly, he's got over 100 victory royales in Fortnite. It's
More.
a shame.
I'm
More?
more now.
Oh no! How many? Go on. How many?
Because I'm addicted.
I love it. Fantastic.
My son's moved on to other things, like to Valorant and everything, but I can't stop playing Fortnite, so there you go.
Can't say I've ever played, but it sounds like an
Yeah.
impressive number.
Exactly. It's also a shame that we aren't at the Oxford Scholar tonight because Cam is self-described as great in a crisis but fun in a pub. Welcome to the show, Cam.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. So,
Well,
you went from studying graphic design and advertising at RMIT to becoming the Chief Creative Officer at M&C Saatchi and Chairman of Award. Can you give us a bit of a rundown on your journey after uni?
yeah, that's a long one. I actually left uni with one elective subject to go, and I did actually finish it retrospectively, so I got my degree in the end. But I mean, the whole purpose of me doing a uni degree was to get a job, and I managed to get one early. So I won a advertising competition, got into grey advertising in Melbourne, and wrote catalogues for a few years. And I don't regret that at all. That was about sort of learning your craft, and if you get a decimal point wrong in a catalogue, it can cost the company a lot of money. It could probably cost you your job. So that was a real good attention to detail, learning exercise. And I was actually teamed up with Jason Williams, who's the CCO of Leo Bennett's in Melbourne, and we're good buddies. And we sort of managed to scrap a few briefs here and there. And after 4 years of doing a little bit of TAC, some Defence Forces, Retrovision, the two of us decided that, maybe we didn't want to go to Sydney. It didn't feel like a big enough move, and it probably wasn't a big enough test. So we jumped on a plane with our partners and hit London. And Jace and his wife decided they didn't want to stay in London that long, but I just sort of hung out and, just tried to get a job, and ended up landing a job at Abermead Vickers, teamed up with a really great guy called Cam there. He had a great name and I had a great name, so that worked. And and I was there for 4.5 years and made a lot of mistakes and made some not mistakes as well. And I think that's what it was all about. But I think the point of getting in there was just, being sort of mesmerised by the quality of the people that were there, and just learning from them, spending time with, at the time, some of the greatest minds. And this is before Dave Droger was, became the #1 brilliant advertising mind in the world. There was the likes of Tom Carty and Walter Campbell, Paul Brazier, Nick Worthington, who's now in New Zealand, but he was part of, he joined Colenso from Abermead Vickers. There was Steve Vick. There was all these people making work for Guinness, for Volvo, for Sainsbury's, and, doing amazing stuff. And so that was a great learning experience. And there is podcasts already with me talking about my past before. And I'm not ashamed to say I was made redundant after 4 years there or whatever it was. And that was a real blow at the time, but it kind of forced me to reassess kind of, exactly where I thought I stood. And it was a moment where I could have fled back to Australia and gone, maybe I'm not worthy, or it was a chance for me to kind of reflect and double down a little bit. So I decided to stay and go for it. Dave Droger took over Publicis Network, and he was operating out of New York. But it was a really exciting proposition, the Publicis Network, because he'd sort of taken all these Saatchi and Saatchi people and put them into great offices everywhere. And I was always one of those people who thought it wasn't about money for me. It was definitely about learning from people and hunting down the right people to work for. And Gav Kellett and Nick Studinsky had taken over the Publicis office in London, and I just sort of banged away on their door for 3 months and hoping for an opportunity, and one arose and I got in there. And within 2 weeks of starting at Publicis, I ended up going to Mexico with Dave Droger and doing a Coca-Cola pitch, which we won, which is, a pretty phenomenal start to, walking in the door there. And I only stayed at Publicis for 18 months, but about 3 or 4 months later, I think Droger rang again and said, Publicis was going over to help Hal Riney out in San Francisco to work on a Sprint Nextel pitch, which is a telecommunications company over there. And I went and did that, and put in the hard yards. And I guess I was a bit of a workaholic, and I just sort of bled for it, and that seemed to make an impression on Dave. So when finally he opened up Droger 5 in New York, he got me to come over and tried to offer me too little money, and I said, that's great, let's do that. And and I sort of started as like the number 10th or 11th employee, I think, in a little office on Broadway in New York, and was there for, it was almost 3 years. And we did some interesting work there. And I think it was really much that startup mentality, which which I bloody loved. It was small. We're in the trenches together. I think we were doing 18-hour days. There was times there which was so freaking fantastic because we'd work till 11 o'clock, maybe go out to a bar till 1 and then go back to the office. And it didn't feel like work. It really felt like we were forging something. And I can kind of talk a little bit about, some of the experiences, some of the things we worked on when we were there, but it was startup. So we didn't, the only pressure was to keep the doors open. There wasn't a lot of clients that with a lot of heritage associated with them. So we didn't sort of, there was a lot of freedom, I guess. And Droga also came, he came with that trust that clients just wanted that sort of magic dust that he could sprinkle all over stuff. And then, after an amount of time there, unfortunately, there was some family stuff going on with me. And so I had to come back to Australia and it just so happened that Drogify was opening the office here. So Matty Burton and I came back here, and Matty's now the CCO of DDB in New Zealand. And we did Drogify here. I stayed overall with Drogify for 8.5 years, then went to BMF as a fish out of water in the ECD role. Like, I really had so much protection in the Droga 5 network, and you never really had to do that much sort of client-facing stuff. There was a bit and whatever, so it was a real eye-opener for me to, to go to BMF and have to grow up and have to, I guess, lead a department and lead the hardest part was the firings and I guess it's not really a firing here, but redundancies and sort of the business pressures and learning that business acumen to go along with the creativity, because we only think about wanting to make pretty things and things we're proud of, but there's also that man management element as well, which is, managing a football team. You've got, so much budget, and sometimes you kick goals and sometimes, you get scored against and you have to make some hard decisions. So, that was so tough at the start, but one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. And I absolutely love BMF to death, and I still love all those guys over there to this day. It was such a family. Like, it felt small, even though they've grown to a pretty decent size now, but we all felt in it together. And then I got tapped on the shoulder for CCO role, which, again, was another step up. And I don't think everyone should sort of aim to go all the way. I think you should get paid a lot of money for just being really, really good at writing or really, really good at art direction and thinking or whatever. But I decided to see if I could test myself, running, work across groups and across state lines and, really seeing how that would work out. And, hopefully I'm not making too much of a mess of it. I think it's going all right at the moment. But, the difference, I think, with BMF and M&C Saatchi was just the breadth of disciplines and businesses that we have, underneath us to try and bring ideas to bear and trying to, create a culture that sort of fits in with an M&C culture, but also with some of the learnings I've got and try and inject a little bit of what I believe magic is, which is kind of hard work and empathy and fucking around a lot of the time as well. Just being, just mucking around and being naughty. So that's the kind of, in a nutshell, of my tour of duty so far. It's very kind of Anglo-based if you think about to London and then America. So they're kind of variations on a theme. They're kind of similar sensibilities, I guess you'd say, with some nuances in humour and whatever. But that's it. Any other questions around that one?
I think you've covered that.
You've covered it. But wow, what a journey!
Yeah.
That's a lot of experiences. That's really
Sounds
awesome.
quite exciting.
Yeah.
Droga 5.
Yeah, I think it's important. I know this one is really that you want to talk to me about really is about working overseas, but I think it's, for me, I think it's super, super important, and you do get challenged over there like you can't get challenged here, and then you can bring that back and you find you know, a lot of people do that tour of duty and they bring back those findings and only just keep improving the standard of the work over here.
Yeah, definitely. That leans into our next question, actually. So you've worked in London, New York, now you're back in Australia. So how did working internationally develop your ability to communicate really efficiently?
Yeah, well, I kind of sort of, when I say, you know, those markets are you know, not too dissimilar from Australia. I mean, they have scale. They have slightly different sensibilities in humour. Like it's much, you know, more dry humour, much more allowing the consumer to connect the dots in the UK. I think with the best work. In America, I think, and I really like both styles of work. They're very upfront about the product, and that, you know, they can, you know, if you think about Skittles work, we'll always start off with two people and one will say, is that the new pumpkin flavoured Skittles? And the other person will say, yeah. And then the scenario will unfold into being some sense of humour around it. So I think if we're getting back to the question around ability to communicate efficiently, one thing I did sort of learn along the way, and I think when you're young in advertising, you overcomplicate things because you think complication is like, I don't know, for some reason I think you feel that you've got to write these really elaborate scenarios and they've got a lot of nuances in them and they're really, you know, they're hard to decipher. I think what you find is that simplicity is, you know, it's a thing that doesn't have borders. Like simplicity resonates in every market. And I learnt simplicity through learning from some of the best people around the world and really sort of getting them to help hone my skills and help me pull it back and pull it back and pull it back rather than, you know, put too many bells and whistles on things. So, yeah, communication, that's it. It's universal. It's keeping things really, really simple.
Straight to the point.
Yeah, definitely.
It's good.
When you're working in different countries, how do you determine a creative approach based on their specific views and values and beliefs? And also, is it hard to adjust to the different cultural norms?
I'm actually finding that I didn't really feel sort of exposed to that too much. I think in America, more sensitive. I find it more nowadays with Australia, where we're really, you know, where we do have a much better empathy and much better sensitivity to the range of diverse people that we have in the country, besides nationalities, but diversity of all sorts. And I think really, I guess that I'm learning more around that all the time now. So I think in the past we always had, you know, I was always from a younger creative and we had probably creative directors who were steering us and, you know, without us knowing, you know, exactly the values and the beliefs that we were needing to negotiate that much. But yeah, I don't think I can answer that question in a really sufficient way because I always thought I had a pretty good intuition anyway. So I wasn't sure I was going to overstep the mark and you know, make any sort of great faux pas, which was going to blow up in the client's face.
I suppose a bit of common sense doesn't
Yeah.
go,
Never goes
astray.
I think some people don't have empathy. I've always felt that I've had that, and sometimes it doesn't show, and people think that I can be hard on them, but that doesn't mean that I don't care and don't understand you know, exactly what makes people tick and how to make sure that everyone feels included and you know and cared about in the right way.
Yeah, perfect. So within America, like I've heard here and there that the advertising industry is super regulated. Did you find that, and how did you kind of adapt to that in comparison to Australian regulations around advertising?
Well, it's interesting because you know I sort of touched on it before. We're a startup when I went over to the US. Like it was really fresh. In fact, my job interview, apart from sort of negotiating, you know, a fairly mundane pay packet, was to build IKEA shelves in the office. Then I went back to London, packed up my shit, and then came back to America. When it comes to, answering the questions, what was regulated. I mean, I worked on Honey Shed, which was, I guess, an MTV meets Shopping Channel that we started up, and we wrote kind of TV shows for, and it was very youth-based, so that didn't really feel regulated. It was also online, so regulation wasn't really there. I didn't work on Mark Echo, but they did the tagging of Air Force One thing, so that wasn't regulated. I worked on TrackFind and Net10, which were telecommunications companies, which are probably the biggest telecoms in the US, but they're those disposable phones. Didn't really feel too much regulation around that. Department of Education, obviously government stuff really has a lot of regulation around that, but we didn't tackle, that Department of Education brief in a way that would really need the governance quite so much as a standard advertising campaign. I guess we decided that we'd look at what the problem was and make the problem the solution, and rather than trying to advertise kids back into school and advertise kids into staying in school, we looked at what they valued and how and they valued mobile phones, and they valued and they mostly kids from underprivileged backgrounds, and they couldn't afford the data, or they wanted more data for their phones or more minutes for their phones. So we used that as a way to, to incentivize learning, and then pay people in minutes and talk minutes or texts at the time. So I can't answer that one exactly either, because we only had Honey Shed, Echo, TrackFind, Department of Education, and we worked on some stuff for the UN as well with the TAP project as well. So
Yeah.
A little bit of purpose-driven work in there, definitely.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. Maybe it's not as regulated as we thought.
Yeah.
Well, I think if you look at it, it is like it's. But I didn't get to work on things like pharmaceuticals. I worked on pharmaceuticals in the UK, and that had regulation. But America is a totally regulated market. It's just that I didn't have the
just avoided it altogether.
the joy of being burdened with all of that.
Nice. I've mentioned in another interview we saw that one thing you have learnt from working internationally is the importance of tone of voice and and applying it to different nationalities and groups of people. So what kind of sets Australia apart in terms of the tone you use, and which country kind of allowed you the most creative freedom with this tone?
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? I should have read that question before. I do think, number one, I think tone of voice is critical, right? And I think that's a differentiator. And I think if you land tone of voice, well, then you can say anything. And I guess we talk about, consistency in campaigns, and sometimes it's the colour green for Woolies, or it's the colour yellow for Combank, and it's language. But I think really it's the way you talk consistently. I think that's really, really critical. So hopefully that's a good sort of learning for people as they sort of make their work. Just think about the tone of voice of the brand and try and write to that, and you should, you're off to a good start. What sets Australia apart in terms of the tone? I think Australia, funnily enough, is a little bit more serious, I think, than most. It's a little bit more sentimental and reflective and nostalgic in a way. There's obviously, even within like being more modern and, being more modern and diverse in the way that we sort of show up in execution, I still think there's a slightly reserved and reflective nature in Australia, and that's hard to put your finger on. I think we're probably a nostalgic bunch for some reason, but
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which country allows you the most creative freedom? Well, I made some pretty good stuff here for beer, I'd say. So there has been, you can find creative freedom, but I think the UK, if I had my time again or went back, slightly more senior, I think there really is an opportunity there, and I think a level of client trust and experience that really allows people to extend themselves, and it really allows some super original thinking. I guess the UK is the home of the eccentric, right? And I think eccentricity can be expressed a little bit more easily over in that market.
Cool. Yeah, well, interesting. Speaking on the Australian tone of voice, you worked on this campaign for Tourism Australia, which pretty much ticks all the boxes. Let's take a look at it and have a chat.
Sure.
Ah, Australia. No one loves the big things more than me. The big pineapple, the big banana, big potato, prawny. But I reckon we can find an even bigger big thing.
Bigger?
Much bigger. All right, what about the big barrier reef?
Oh, great.
Oh, she's big. The big
Terrestrial ecosystem.
tree place.
We were after big, right?
Sorry, what were you saying?
Gosh.
Look at this.
The big red.
Wondrousness.
Catchy.
Yep. Big! 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 Wow.
Oh, look at the little one.
He's got a big heart. You know, Zoe, I reckon Australia is the big thing.
Yep.
Let's go big, Australia, because there's nothing bigger or better than a holiday here.
I love that one. So good.
Epic shoot.
Yeah, it would have been.
I didn't go on that shoot. I was very jealous of it. That's part of the problem with being in a leadership position. You've got to sit in the office while other people go and have fun. So.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, oh,
That kind
no.
of sucks.
I would have loved to go on that.
Yeah, no,
That's
so
great.
you just need a
Good
holiday.
fun. So do you know what inspired the idea for that one? And
Yeah.
also, do you know if Hamish was part of the original idea or was he cast later?
Everything. I know everything about this one because I'm heavily involved in it, and I thought it was a really good question that you had here, and it's for many reasons. And one is the ad that you just shown there is part of a trilogy. That's number 2. There was a number 1. But the Holiday Here this year campaign actually didn't start off with Hamish and Zoe. It started off as a bushfire relief campaign that Tourism Australia did to try and. What happened was during the bushfires, a lot of bookings dried up from overseas. In fact, about 70% of bookings, because there was a lot of fake news and misinformation that the whole of Australia was on fire, and that really hit obviously local tour operators really hard. And tourism is our 3rd biggest industry. Like, it employs a massive amount of people, and it's a huge part of our GDP. So Holiday Here this year was actually birthed in a conversation I had with a producer who had this thought about trying to get people to go camping in bushfire zones and pay an extra fee to help those communities. And it was a loose idea, but I really liked it. And I went back to my ECDs and I said, I've been talking with Stephanie and we've got this brief on the table, and she was talking about, holiday in parks, and they went away and they came back with, over a weekend, and came back with Holiday Here this year, which I really liked. Now, what I think is the genius part of Holiday Here this year was that it seemed to be disaster proof, because we pretty soon went from bushfires straight into COVID. And if 50% or 70% of tourism dried up with the bushfires, well, it all went away with COVID. So it became a really brilliant pivot into trying to get people within Australia wherever they could, because different states were locked down at different times, and I know that you guys had it the worst. But trying to get people out and about and trying to support local towns, travel within their state or travel as far as they could. So the first ad was going to be actually Hamish and Andy going on a road trip together as a couple of mates. And then the real serious lockdowns came in and we weren't able to shoot them doing anything. And we had a big shoot set up with the Glue Society. They were going to do basically that ad you just showed now. They were going to do something like that. But there was going to be surprises along the way, which Hamish didn't know about and he probably still doesn't know about. And we were going to get a whole lot of candid moments. What happened was we had to send Jonathan Kneebone fully masked up with just a little camera to kind of direct from outside Hamish and Zoe's house, and they set up cameras themselves and they shot the first spot, and it's kind of sweet, but it's a little bit jerry built because it had to be made in kind of extreme circumstances. But it's an ad where they are dreaming about what they're going to do when they get out of lockdown, or when they're talking about where they should go. So that was part one. Then when it started to open up, part two was the one you showed, and then part three was the best gift shop in the world, and it was about where people could go or experiences people could give as a. Actually, there was another one as well. But let's pretend there was a trilogy, so I'm not alone. And there's one which is all about gifting experiences. But Hamish and Zoe, I mean, Zoe was a real find, and I know she's big with obviously her cosmetics range, or her skincare range, should I say, and she's absolutely got a massive following on Instagram. But she really grew over the course of making those ads, and she's a superstar and a really great foil for Hamish. It's kind of the funny guy and the straight guy in a way, in the way that they play off against each other. So hopefully that helps you sort of understand a little bit around the background of that. But it shows if you've got a really strong platform, you can pivot it quite easily into another space. And we're really proud of those ads. So Hamish, I've worked with before. Once upon a time, I'm from Melbourne. He went to St Leonard's College, and I went to St Leonard's College about 6 or 7 years before him as well. So we've got some kind of connection. But he just made sense when we were trying to rally the country, because he's so well loved and respected.
Yeah, it's an icon. We had a game last week actually where we had a British guest, and we got him to guess if like the people on the screen were Aussie icons or just average people, and we put Hamish and Andy on, and he was like, oh, average people. But we're like, no, they're pretty well loved Aussie icons. Yeah. I love the title of the campaign as well. Holiday here this year. It works so perfectly.
It flows.
It just makes you kind of want to.
I feel like it's one of those ones that they can bring back whenever they need to. Whenever we need a little bit of a lift. But I mean, it could work even during international travel. I mean, what you discover is like, I've always been someone who travels overseas, and then obviously I've got to walk the talk a little bit, and having travelled around Australia, and I did Mate Song with Kylie as well, and we flew all around, and you just go, shit, this place is absolutely spectacular, and you can't get enough of it, and you could never in your lifetime see every bit of it. So
yes, Australia has so much, like so many various different things. Like you go north and it's so
different. I'd love to do a trip around Australia.
Just go all the way around.
I've done Queensland, but I haven't really done
it. We'll do it after uni. Moving on a bit. So I know after coming out of lockdown, there's a lot of young creatives who do really want to get out and work overseas in the advertising industry. Can you give these young creatives just one kind of piece of advice how they can start making this happen?
Yeah, I thought about this and I had a completely different answer written down. It was the wrong answer. But what I think you should do is what I did, which was I didn't reach out to anyone. I didn't have a plan. I just got on a plane and went. And I think there's that kind of leap of faith, which is the same that you have to make when you make a really good idea, a really sort of original idea, is a leap of faith. So it's also getting out of your comfort zone. And there's something in having you probably have to have a return ticket legally to get into a lot of these places, but the notion of a one-way ticket and the notion of going over and knocking on doors, and that's a commitment, and it forces you to pretty quickly assess whether or not this is for you. and do you have the stamina for it? Because it's a business that really requires stamina. The highs are high and the lows are low, and you're going to have to sort of ride some rocky bits. So jump on a plane and just go.
Just do it.
Nice.
Love that.
Might just get in a plane.
Yeah, tomorrow. There's no episode next week,
After the
guys.
episode, heading off.
Oh my God.
Oh, actually, I really like that advice, actually.
Yeah.
Well, now we're going to get into the game of the week. So this week
Right.
is going to test Cam's knowledge of overpriced ads.
We think they're overpriced.
I think
yeah.
they're overpriced.
What? Overpriced.
Overpriced.
Like really
So,
expensive
yeah.
ads.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the game is called The Price is Right.
So we're going to show an ad and then give you 4 options, and you just tell us how much you think the ad cost in Australian dollars. And then for everyone watching at home, jump over to the Instagram to have a go.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So question 1 is the iconic Carlton Draft big ad. Let's take a look and then see how much it cost.
It's a big ad, very big ad. It's a big ad, very. It's a big ad. My God, it's big. Can't believe how big it is. It's a big ad for Carlton Drafts. It's just so freaking good. It's a big ad, expensive ad. This ad better sell some money.
So was that A, 3 million, B, 7 million, C, 1.5, or D, 4.5?
That is a great ad and a real bargain at 1.5.
Ooh, that one was A, 3 million. That one I don't think was too overpriced. I think that was pretty
was
pretty
okay.
good for what it was
Yeah.
and how famous it is. But some of them that we're going to
Still a
show,
bargain at 3. Still a bargain at 3.
Yeah, I
definitely,
reckon.
definitely.
some of the other ones not so maybe.
Yeah, there's 3,000 people in that one,
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
it?
there's 3,000. We were going to do a little extra points, but then we really don't add up points.
Yeah, like, I've always wondered about that, and I should have asked the people who worked on it, but I couldn't work out whether or not they did it for real in a field or whether they did it in sections and posted it together to create the scale. But you know, that's pretty amazing. 3,000 people.
Maybe we should we'll do some digging and find out.
Yeah, do some research.
Yeah.
We'll come back to everyone with that. Question 2. So this is a Guinness ad set in a remote northern village in the mountains of northern Argentina. Let's take a look. Love it. So, A30, B23, C42, or D36?
She's making me feel like a beer now. So this would have been in pounds
We've converted it over.
10 to 12 years ago.
We can give you a hint.
Reckon about 10 million pounds. So maybe 23. Am I wrong?
No, correct. That is B.
Bang
23.
on. What a good guess. Fantastic.
Love it. Question 3 is yet another beer ad. Sorry to make you thirsty there. I couldn't tell you what I was thinking about when I was picking these 3 ads.
Most entertaining, you know?
Yeah, they're good. They're good ads. So this one is the Bud Light commercial, Up for Whatever. Let's have a look.
Hey, I'm Kelly.
Ian.
Ian?
Ian, pleasure to meet you.
If I give this to you, are you up for whatever happens next?
We gave Ian Rappaport a Bud Light and a choice. He has no idea what's going to happen next.
I think I could do that.
All right, he's in the limo. Reggie, that's you.
How are you? What's your name? Ian Rappaport. Ian Rappaport.
Bud Light, the perfect beer for when you're watching a Super Bowl ad about a guy who doesn't know he's in a Super Bowl ad, and we're just getting started.
They're coming in now, guys. Open the doors.
Joe.
Good evening.
Hello, Lily.
Hey, Don. How are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Nice to see you.
She's feeling a little under the weather.
Hi.
Twins.
Yes.
This is a bizarre night. My mind is blown.
They're on their way down.
Prepare to be crushed in tiny tennis. Just give me 5 push-ups, 2.
I knew it.
It's not a bad shot for my little princess.
Bud Light, the perfect beer for when Don Cheadle, a llama named Lily, and the identical twin of the girl you just met take you to a party where you defeat Arnold Schwarzenegger in a sudden death ping pong match that puts you on stage with One Republic. Bud Light, the perfect beer for whatever happens.
Crazy. Lots going on in there. So was that 10 million, 18, 31, or 13?
31 every day.
That was 18. That one?
Far out.
Yeah, I actually thought that one was like, how did they do that for 18?
God, knowing how much we got to pay stars nowadays.
Yeah.
How old is that one? That is so good. I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think I'd seen it once before on a search through Super Bowl one.
It's really good though, because you can tell he's so happy. Like, I think that's what
Yeah,
makes it.
I
He's
don't
just
know.
thrilled.
Is he actually not an actor though? Like, is he just a really good
Yeah, I
actor
think
being not an actor? Or?
No, it's real.
It looks pretty real.
So that's what the genius is of that, because you can see yourself in him, can't you? It's like being that person, having that experience.
Imagine
really
being
cool.
picked for that. That would be
unreal.
fun.
That'd be unreal.
Why didn't they pick me?
18 mil though. Wow.
Yeah.
You'd like tell the story to your friends, like, guys, like, you know,
They
I
wouldn't
went to this
believe you.
bar. They'd be like, no, you didn't.
Stop it.
Go
And then
home.
they'd be watching the Super Bowl and see that.
Yeah, then you pop up on the Super Bowl. Yeah.
See, I told you.
All right. Question number 4 is Amazon Super Bowl ad, Alexa loses her voice. So there's a lot of celebrities in here as well. So yeah, meaning a big budget, as we said.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's take a look.
In Austin, it's 60 degrees with a... Alexa?
Amazon's Alexa lost her voice this morning, causing a
Alexa lost her voice? How is that even possible?
We have the replacements ready. Just say the word.
You're sure this is gonna work?
Yeah.
Alexa, show me a recipe for a grilled cheese sandwich.
Pathetic. You're 32 years of age, and you don't know how to make a grilled cheese sandwich. Its name is the recipe, you...
Alexa, how far is Mars?
How far is Mars? Well, how am I supposed to know? I've never been there. This guy want to go to Mars. For what? There's not even oxygen there.
Alexa, set the mood.
Now setting the mood. You're in the bush, and you're just so dirty, and you're so sweaty, because it's hot in that bush.
Alexa, reboot.
Alexa, play some country music.
I don't dance now. I make money moves.
No, Alexa, country music.
I be in and out them banks so much I know they tired of me.
Alexa, call Brandon.
I'm afraid Brandon is a little tied up. But do let me know if there's anything I can help you with. Jessica? Good boy.
Thanks, guys, but I'll take it from here.
Love that one.
Yeah.
So it was A, 14 million, B, 39 million, C, 21 million, or D, 25 million?
I can't get another one wrong. It's got to be 25.
It's so close. It was 21. So
We like to make it
though.
challenging for you.
I'm not a producer, you know.
Yeah, I
just-
know.
we're
Just a
not-
bit of fun.
Just a bit of fun. Most of the games our guests haven't done too well in anyway.
I would struggle with this tremendously. But
Wow.
question number 5, this one, we could actually only find the whole campaign, not the ad. Still a classic, and it does deserve, I think, to be featured. Let's take a look at this one.
To this one, I was reading about the production of the gorilla suit the other day actually, and all the hairs are like hand woven, and the face has like remote controls that someone in another room was like controlling. Really? So
that's pretty cool.
It was I thought that was pretty cool, kind of cool. But yeah,
Back in the days of animatronics rather than special effects. Now I'm gonna go that this is a cheap one. So I'm sorry, but I'm gonna go 8.
Again, so close. 11. So close.
I'm going to take that as a victory.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
That's close enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's still quite a lot of money for that, isn't it, when you think about it?
Yeah, it was for the campaign as a whole, but it's still like...
Oh, okay. So does that include like the kids with the dancing eyebrows?
I think it was just the gorilla campaign.
The gorilla campaign.
I think it was exclusively the gorilla campaign when I was looking it up.
Yep.
But yeah.
It was a little bit hard to find a specific number for that one, but we wanted it in there.
Yeah. I just love that ad. I think it's
great. Bring someone right now and ask you if you want.
Yeah, go on. Get them on. Phone a friend. We should give you a phone a friend.
Yeah, I should have had that. Oh, that'd been great.
You're probably going to get off the line.
Go on.
Just to see, I'll see if I can get Micah to answer it for me.
Yeah, that'd be so hilarious.
Should we do a little dance segment while we wait?
This is great. This is fantastic. Should we call something?
Hey, buddy, I'm just on something live and I've got a question. Do you know how much Cadbury Gorilla costs to make?
Probably around the £900,000 mark.
900,000 pounds for Cadbury Gorilla. Right, so the whole campaign would have come out after they did the dancing cars, the dancing eyebrows and stuff, quite a lot more, right?
Say that again.
The whole campaign would have been a lot more expensive because after they did the dancing eyebrows with the kids, they did the trucks dancing. Yeah.
They ended up spending more on those. On like the trucks was more, but
Yeah.
But yeah, if the kids were probably 700,000 pounds, the gorilla was probably just under $1 million.
Cool.
Oh.
I think the trucks, the airport was more, but that one, yeah.
All right, thanks, buddy. I'll give you a call back. Cheers. Bye. There you go.
There you go, straight from the source.
That's so good.
That was fantastic.
Micah, so Juan Cabral made the gorilla ad, and Micah, who runs Bear Meets Eagle on Fire, they sat in the office together. So
Okay.
So
gotcha.
one tried to sell that campaign to about 7 different clients before it landed with Cadbury.
Ah,
So there you
that's
go.
cool. So it's like he had the idea and then found a client instead of Cadbury came to him and
Well,
he was like, let's do this.
I think you probably wrote it for a client to begin with, but like when you've got an idea that's, so strong, like you should never throw away really good ideas.
Use it for something else.
It found a home.
Yeah.
So there you go. Some live.
I love that.
That was fantastic.
That was the best segment of the
highlight.
show.
That was really cool.
We got one more question for you though.
There one more question for the game, and it's the final question, and it's the most expensive in the game. So the ridiculous budget was for Chanel's ad, the film, and we're still struggling to figure out why it was so expensive.
I don't like it.
Neither do I. But let's take a small look at the 3-minute clip.
She was gone. Has she forgotten? I know. I will not. Her kiss. Her smile. Her perfume.
So that's expensive, is it? Far out. I prefer to spend my money on the other stuff. Okay, 48 million.
It was apparently Nicole Kidman only took about 6 million though.
So we don't know
where
the rest of the money went.
Wow, maybe a shitload of post.
Maybe. Yeah.
Wow, yeah. I mean, geez.
Yeah.
Only 6 million for an ad.
It's ridiculous, but I suppose.
A good actor.
Yeah, true.
Got the money for it. Why not?
May as well splash out, I guess.
Probably could have done better things with the money part.
Definitely. Well, that's a wrap for the Price is Right, Cam. Thank you so much for playing along and for joining us.
2 out of 5 or 6.
Yeah, you did it. You killed it.
Smashed it.
And yeah, it was an absolute pleasure having you on the show tonight. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, Cam.
Okay, thanks, and congratulations on your show. What a thing to have set up. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay, see you everyone.
Bye.
Oh my god,
That was lovely. That was fantastic. I
That was so
love
good.
the call.
Yeah, just call
That
it
was
up.
really cool. He was also lovely as well.
We should phone a friend one day.
Yeah.
Now we're going to have a look at our ad of the week, which was done by the very talented team at M&C Saatchi that Cam is working at. And then we're going to get Courtney Robin to have a chat about all things M&C Saatchi Open House.
But for now, let's take a look at Outhorse Your Email.
Nothing ruins your vacation like work. Thankfully, Iceland has created the perfect solution. Outhorse Your Email, a revolutionary service where Icelandic horses write real out-of-office replies so you can relax. They are trained in corporate buzzwords. Your boss will never know the difference. Outhorse your inbox and free up your vacation. Visit outhorseyouremail.com to try for yourself.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we love that one, and you know, I reckon I'd sign up for it.
Yeah, my cat does a similar thing on the keyboard. It just kind of scuttles along. I should start getting her to reply to my emails.
Yeah. Well, as a recovering former horse girl myself, I really love this ad, and I think it's a really original idea. And my favourite horse, it was hard to pick, but it was the light brown one, I think. But yeah, I might have to get her in my inbox once we graduate and go on holiday.
Yeah, let's do it. But yeah, now we're going to unpack M&C Saatchi Open House, so don't go anywhere. Or not.
Sweet.
So now we want to welcome the lovely Courtney Robertson from M&C Saatchi. Courtney is their talent consultant and integral to their open house program. Thanks so much for coming into the studio today.
Hi. Clearly really good at this camera situation, but hi, thank you for having me on the show, and it was great to see Cam earlier.
Yeah.
chatting about his career, which I think is a good kind of segue into the open house program and why people should join. So yeah, excited to chat to you guys about it tonight.
Cool. Good. So yeah, we want to just talk about the upcoming open house program. So could you tell us what it is and how it works?
Yes, totally. So the open house program it's a really great way that you can get a snapshot into the industry and all the different parts and diverse parts of the industry. So there'll be speakers from across M&C Saatchi who will be talking about their different specialisms. So we've got people from the strategy, from creative, CX, design, all across the industry who will be speaking about their specialisms. And then it's sort of an 8-week series, so you can join for the lunch and learns throughout the program. So it's an hour lunchtime session every week for the 8 weeks, and you get to sort of hear from the keynote speakers. And then there's also the opportunity to apply for an internship, a paid internship, might I add, with M&C Saatchi Group at the end of the program. So I think for students, it's a really good way to be able to see the different parts of the industry and the way that your career could unfold. Appreciate this is probably a stressful time when you're about to graduate and you might not be sure which path you want to go down. So it gives a good teaser of the different ways that you could showcase your career going forward.
Yeah, beautiful. Cool. Sounds good. So what sort of benefit do you reckon it will bring to the students that are finishing?
I think kind of tacking on from what Cam was talking about earlier in terms of the, I guess when he was saying just jump on a plane and go overseas, I think the benefit with the open house program is that it actually will give you some accreditation before you go. So that's a really key thing, I think, for students starting out, is to be able to have some things on your resume, particularly if you are wanting to kind of just do it and go overseas. Then it's good to get some accreditation on your CV before you go. So the open house program means that you can say on your CV that you've done the M&C Saatchi program. So I think it gives you something to pop on the CV. It also gives you that insight into the group and ways that you could, the different roles you could apply for when you do graduate. So I think if I had my time again, I think a program like this would be really great getting out of uni, because it gives you that sort of kickstart and something to pop on your CV. So I would definitely consider it, because it is free. So you can just do the webinar series, so you can do those, and you can apply for the internship. So you don't have to apply for the internship, you can just do the webinar series. So it's really good that you've got both options.
And you can do it all completely online?
All virtual, everything's online. So yeah, you can access it in your own time. The 8-week series are live at lunchtime, but you can also then catch up on them afterwards in your own time. So it's a good way to fit it around your schedule, or join live so that you can ask questions from the hosts. The other thing that we're going to have this series is there'll be mentor sessions that you can sign up for. So there'll be extra tutor sessions along the way, because we set you a task brief throughout the series that you can work on, so you get to tackle a real live client brief. So then as part of that, you can chat to the tutors along the way about how you're going with the task. So again, a good way to get feedback on your thinking, and to really hone those skills and your craft, which I'm sure you're doing at uni. This is amazing setup tonight. So I think this is just an added benefit for students looking for a way to get into the industry.
It's always different when you're like in an agency to what you're doing at uni as well. It's that little bit better kind of feel for it, I think.
And I think the obviously the lecturers do a great job of, they've got to cover a diverse range of information for students, and I think this kind of gives you a way of seeing what all the different roles are. I know when I sort of finished uni and was starting out, I was studying advertising, and I kind of only really knew about the creative side. I didn't realise all the roles that there are. So you can go into account management, you could do production, you can be creative, there's design, there's strategy. So I think it gives you a teaser, and you'll notice throughout the series like which people resonate the most with you, and then you can kind of pursue that as a career.
Cool. So how do we apply?
How do we apply? The big question. So I don't know if it's been showing on the screen, but there is a QR code if it ends up working. So you can access the QR code, and that takes you direct to an application link so that you can register your interest. It's all kicking off from October 11th, so try and apply before then, and that's when the series will kick off. So hopefully that works with, I know you're graduating.
Yeah, it'll be
in
our last kind of thing is pitch night, the 18th of October,
scary.
so it's good timing.
Yeah, good timing, perfect timing to do some more work. Yeah, so jump on the link, and if you have any issues accessing it, then just hit me up directly and I can send it over.
Perfect. We'll pop the QR code somewhere, maybe on Instagram as well, make a story and do some emailing and stuff like that. Put all the links everywhere, but
awesome.
We'll make them easy to access. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Courtney.
Thanks for having me. Awesome.
Beautiful. Well, now we're going to take a look at Ads Gone Wild, where they will be looking at what's been happening with the new Game of Thrones series.
Let's check it out.
G'day, adventurers! Do I have a hell of a treat for you? Today we're looking at a ferocious campaign that is so hot, so spicy, it has taken the wild by fire. It is, of course, for the highly anticipated Game of Thrones spin-off, House of the Dragon.
Where is duty? Where is sacrifice? Now they see you as you are.
Today, we're looking into how this big beautiful campaign relies on both the power of out-of-home advertising and digital media to make something absolutely awesome. So let's check out some of the cool and creative ways they've used out-of-home to create massive hype. So stay tuned on your Iron Thrones at home and check out this killer campaign. First up, check out this larger-than-life 3D billboard featuring a huge fire-breathing dragon in Times Square. Wicked! This is sure to wow unsuspecting commuters. I absolutely love how the billboard's curve creates this illusion of depth and makes it feel as if the dragon can actually jump right out and bite ya. 3D dragons are also spotted on billboards across the globe. Here's one terrorising the streets of Melbourne. Next up, we have dragons taking over landmarks across the globe on Snapchat. Different dragons will be spotted across global landmarks as more dragons are introduced to the show. Here's the dragon spotted in London on the day of the premiere. This same dragon was seen around landmarks in Los Angeles, Rio de Janeiro, Chennai, Mumbai and Prague. As more dragons will be showcased weekly, we're sure to see one flying around Australia in no time. What a fun way to keep fans across the globe on their toes. Now, we've looked at some high-budget executions, and apparently over $100 million was spent on marketing. But being resourceful in the wild can be even more effective. So here's one of my favourite executions from the campaign. This melted metrolite has been spotted near a bus stop in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And let's just say this execution is on fire. The installation took the internet by storm and was feeding fuel to the fire by bringing even more hype to the premiere. Next up, we'll check out some awesome digital media paired with the campaign. But first, here's what our trusty out-of-home expert, Kylie Green from the Outdoor Media Association, says about how out-of-home supports digital and other media channels.
Out-of-home is a really good backup for other media channels, mainly TV and digital. There was a study that we did a few years ago. We worked with partners and analytic partners, and that showed that there was a campaign of digital, TV and online, and the collective had the highest ROI compared to, say, just digital alone, which showed an ROI, reduced it by about 50%. We've also found that mobile advertising is super effective. So obviously with out of home, the two of those paired together, it's that, it's the balancing of those environments from when you're out of the home, when you're out of the office, you've got mobile or out of home complementing each other.
Thanks for that, Kylie. Now, with that said, let's take a look at this app where fans can raise and tame their very own dragon.
Bond with your very own unique dragon. With Dracarys, the official new House of the Dragon app. Steal a dragon egg from Westeros and bring it into your world. Raise your dragon from a hatchling using powerful AR technology.
Nakiri!
Use high Valerian commands to train your dragon.
Nakiri!
And watch as your dragon grows and grows.
You will have a dragon one day.
Share your dragon with the world.
Dracarys!
I think I'll name him Dazza. And lastly, Duolingo is teaching fans the show's royal language, High Valyrian. The collab had billboards written in the language that only the die-hard fans could decipher. I wonder if they have a way to say crikey. Anyways, that's all, folks. Be sure to always be on the lookout for those great ads when you're out and about. And remember that killer campaigns will need killer out-of-home ads in the wild.
I really like it. I'm still bitter. I might learn the language, but I might have to brush up on my Danish first.
Oh my God, we get it.
Did you guys know I went to Denmark?
Anyway, this week on DMs, we're going to be looking at creative partnerships as Dim and Maddie interview Liam and Siobhan. They're a dynamic duo currently at the Royals, but not so long ago in the same position as all of us. Let's check it out.
Again.
All right. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to DMs with Dim and Maddie. I'm Dim.
And I'm Maddie, and today we're here to chat with Liam and Siobhan. Before we get started, could you guys tell us a little bit about your careers and your roles?
Sure thing. Well, I'm a copywriter.
I'm an art director.
And yeah, we work at the Royals. We've been there since Jan, so not very long. We were at Ogilvy beforehand. Before that, Liam was at Haystack. Yeah.
We graduated in 2017.
Yeah.
Graduated in 2017, from RMIT.
Yeah.
We definitely had a couple of 1 a.m. nights in this room, so it's a little bit trickery.
Yeah. I'm like,
PTSD.
But yeah.
Sweet. So, following last week, we'll ask you some questions inspired by the Vogue 73 questions video. So firstly, Siobhan, night in or night out?
It's meant to be rapid fire, right?
Yes, rapid fire.
Depends on my mood, night out.
Sweet. Liam, favourite music artist right now?
Beyonce. Renaissance is great.
Fair. Dream holiday destination, Siobhan?
Amsterdam. I want to move there next year.
Ooh, interesting. If you could play one sport professionally, what would it be, Liam?
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't? Fair enough. Neither would I. Best TV show?
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob, love it.
Classic.
Favourite part of your job, Liam?
Oh my God, tricky. I think sort of taking a brief and trying to twist it so we can put something good into the world.
Yeah, for sure. Restaurant you would recommend?
Jim's Greek Tavern.
Jim's Greek Tavern. And favourite all-time ad?
I don't necessarily have a favourite ad, but I remember when I was a kid, I loved, again for obvious reasons, the Pepsi ad with Britney and Pink and Beyonce.
Classic.
Classic.
Throwback.
I was scared it was going to be like the Kendall Jenner one. I was like,
No, everyone's like, stop filming, cut the cameras.
So on to our next question. What's it like working as a duo? And so what are the pros and cons to that?
It's interesting. Well, obviously we moved together as well from Ogilvy.
Yeah.
And I think that was the most interesting part of our partnership is it was obviously working well. We actually started in uni together. We did most of our projects and then we kind of split. I went to award school. Liam got the job at Haystack, as I previously said. And then things kind of just aligned where my creative partner at Ogilvy left and it was time to bring on somebody else. And I messaged Liam and I'm like, you've been at Haystack for a bit. Do you want to come to Ogilvy? And so we were back together again. So moving, I think, was the most interesting thing because when we were interviewing, it had to be a place that we both really liked and that we both felt comfortable with.
Yeah.
And I think that was the most challenging part. But I mean, where we are now.
Oh yeah, we're super happy.
We're super happy, yeah.
But I think something that you sort of don't learn a lot about is the complications, and not all bad complications, just makes things a little bit more complicated of being in a partnership. Like everybody in my life say, oh yeah, my creative partner Siobhan, and we're looking for a job together, and they're like, what do you mean together? Like how do you manage all the conversations of like, specifically pay? Like pay is always a big conversation that again we don't really talk about much, but we should because we should all get paid for what we do. But like you have to have those conversations of like, are you comfortable earning this much? Like should we be, doing this, doing that, and then obviously ethics and morals and all those types of things come into looking for a new job as well. But I think the biggest pro for me, and it's not just attached to moving, but it definitely influenced that as well. Is sort of having somebody that it's almost like having a twin, like an extension of yourself in terms of a career that you can always bounce things off of. And if you're, feeling a certain way, like I'm really feeling this way, and you sort of always have that support network with each other, which is really nice. Or we're lucky that we do. At least. Yeah.
Awesome. What is a word of advice you would give an advertising student graduating and, getting into the industry?
Ooh. I think I'd say there are many ways in. That sounds a bit classic, but I think even doing award school, that's not what got me my job. In the end, someone who we worked with at RMIT, so a classmate, ended up having a connection, and that's kind of how I got in. And when I asked my boss about award school, he was like, I don't care. Really? I mean, so I was like, so obviously it's great to do, don't get me wrong, I had a great time, met some awesome people, but there are definitely other ways to get in. And I think just being yourself, very open to talking to people, I think that's important. And also not feeling like you're stepping on anyone's toes by like messaging on LinkedIn and being that like proactive person. Like you never know where that message is going to leave. Obviously writing them feels daunting and you're like, oh my God, I'm just going to annoy them. But you really never know what's going to come up.
I also think just to extend on that as well, make sure that you're not like making everything in your life just about ads. The reason being is because, I mean, some of the things that have helped me get jobs and make connections with my boss or other colleagues is not ads. And it's good to come in, if you're a videographer or something, that's amazing. But if you're, I don't know, maybe you're a makeup artist and that's something that's really interesting that you can talk about. Or maybe you have an obsession with fan fiction, or you have an obsession with, I don't know, young adult novels or something. Like just sort of being yourself, as Siobhan was saying, but also recognizing that that is actually a benefit in this creative industry that we're all working in or going to be working in. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys choose at uni to, like, did you always want to be a duo? Individually, but like, did you think at uni, I really want to be a duo?
I think for the most part during uni, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I think after, when you got offered the job, it was just very like we need to do our own things. But when it came to working together again, because we had that time, 1 a.m. in this room, we did have that familiar rapport and values and trust in each other. So yeah, I would say that when we had the opportunity to work together again, it was kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Did you work on projects together?
When
you
really?
In uni,
yeah.
Wow.
We went a lot of
no one
classes
else.
together.
Yeah, we got comfortable and we sort of worked with each other on most things that we could.
Yeah, we did have a few extra people along the way, but it was always literally. Yeah.
Actually, what I did want to say on this is duos. Duos are very much still like the norm.
Yeah.
But we work with plenty of people who aren't in duos, and I think it's really important. I don't know if they're teaching it currently, but when we were studying 5-6 years ago, it was definitely like, if you want to get a job, you have to be in a duo.
Really?
That's it. Yeah.
Wow. They've never said that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
It's good advice.
Yeah. Because I definitely, we've spoken to grads before, or like I've had friends who like started a year after me, and they're like, oh, I don't have a partner and everything. And I'm like, that's definitely not the end of the world.
Yeah.
So that whoever needs that advice, take that.
Yeah. I feel like it's really good because you have more skill sets. Like, you're not expected to just be like, oh, so you can do, like, just straight up they'll be like, so you might be an art director, but you can do all this other stuff, right? And
Yeah,
you're like,
exactly.
No. Yeah, that's what someone else can do. Like, yeah, it's good.
Because like even like my first job when I was working at Haystack was very much like we sort of were doing everything. Like I didn't have a creative partner, so I was doing art direction, I was doing copywriting, I was doing photography, I was doing videography, and that also should not be the norm because overworking. But like hybrids and sort of just being a creative person or a creative employee is enough. Like duos aren't set in stone.
Yeah, absolutely. And they change often. Like when I was at Ogilvy, I think I had 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I think like people leave, different opportunities come up. But yeah, I think having had quite a few creative partners, I think I can't stress the importance of working with someone that you like and that you do get along with and that you have the same goals in mind. But I'd say above all else, communication. I think that's our biggest strength is if things aren't working, we immediately talk about it and then we can overcome it. Or like sometimes when working through the pandemic, when you send a message, you can't tell how that's received. And that would cause like mini blowouts, and then we'd just call out and be like, oh, I wasn't angry. And then we realized we started literally over nothing. So funny. Yeah. So I guess moral of the story, don't worry about if you have a partner or not. But when you are looking for one, I think somebody that you can be open with in terms of communication and that you have the same values.
Yeah.
For sure.
Wow, what legends. They bounce off each other so well.
They are my favourite Royals duo. They were so bloody lovely when I was there. Good to see them back on the screens. Next up, we're going to check in with Sally Brownbill. So in this interview, they unpack the theme of confidence and how to plan a good folio. Let's check out Sally's 12 rules for students' folios.
Here, I could have been. I was meant to be at a networking night, and you got me to come in here. Like, what am I doing here?
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Between Two Ferns. I'm your host, Amelia Lucky, and with me today is folio consultant Sally Brownbill.
Hi, Amelia. Thanks for having me. It's nice to be here.
It's a pleasure. This is a really important episode because we're talking about your 12 rules for students' folios.
You need, I think, a digital portfolio, absolutely, a website, and if you can have a printed portfolio as well, for those times that you do meet people, It's beautiful. People love the texture, they love looking at it, they love taking time and talking about it. You know, dare to be different. You know, you don't have to conform. It's offering something unique that's you and putting your own personality into your portfolio. That's what's really important. Presentation is such an important part of what we're doing, because agencies are looking at you and they're thinking, well, you have to represent our clients.
Yeah.
So the way you dress, the way you talk, the way you interact, the way you present your portfolio, all of that is hugely important. You have to have somebody that you feel really confident with. A mentor is a really great idea. To give you an independent critical eye, I think it's very rare for people to feel really confident in selecting their own work to go into a portfolio. But what you've got to remember is, what is it that I want to be doing? What is it that I enjoy? The things that I really didn't enjoy, I had a bad time doing, take them out straight away. You've got to remember that we are looking at the same project time and time and time again. So it's about being unique again and what was your input. And you're not trying to pretend that you did everything, because again, we want to see how you collaborate and what you'd be like in a team in our agency. People want to see how you're going to react with clients, how are you going to be able to talk through your briefs and your ideas to your creative director, and that's all part of being in advertising. One of the problems that I do see with a lot of students that come out of one particular course is that they've all got the same projects. That is a point of difference in a folio where everyone's graduated from the same course, everyone has 6 of the same projects, and you come in with maybe 4 projects that you're really proud of, and 2 or 3 that you've done on your own, or you did before you entered the course, or you've done since, and put some of that into it, and that injects just that individuality that I'm talking about. Just dare to be different, have fun.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are so serious these days, and everybody's overthinking things and they're worried, are they going to embarrass themselves? Go out and do it. Have fun. As long as you're not hurting anyone along the journey and it's not inappropriate, don't worry about things. Don't overthink it. If it feels right, if you have this great idea, what about we send a bunch of balloons and then they've got to pop the balloon and in it's my phone number. If we did that, how do you think that would be? You know, because they've just won a balloon client, you know, like do it.
Yeah.
Have fun with it.
It's a
you know,
great idea.
be rememberable.
Yeah.
That's what you want. There's 500 of you coming out of universities, more, you know, all around Australia. Many of you are all going for the same jobs. Stand out, turn up in a juicy velour tracksuit for your interview. I don't care. Whatever is going to make you feel confident, stand out and be different. That's what's important, you know, and show a good energy. That's, people want to be around the glasses half full.
Can you just look straight at the camera and say, believe in your folio and yourself?
Believe in your folio and yourself.
That's great. I'm feeling it. Thanks, Sally.
I mean it.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. I really mean it.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know that you do, but I do.
I mean everything I say, Sally.
Yeah, okay.
I'm already feeling so confident in my work. Shout out to you, Sally.
Some great points in there. Wouldn't have thought about before. I will be giving my folio a makeover before pitch night with those things in mind.
Me too, definitely. Well, now we're going to run you through this week's quick brief submissions.
Let's take a look.
I'm loving this one.
I missed the reference on that, but I got it now.
Yeah, there's some great work. Charlie's back with some fire responses to the Adobe stock brief, and Amber's work with the superhero was really sick. I love that one too.
We're loving it. Keep your quick briefs coming. Feeling very educated now. Thank you, Charlie. Snazzy stuff in there, everyone. Yeah, just keep the submissions coming. Now, for the latest brief, let's see what Amelia has whipped up for you guys to work on.
Amazing. Yeah, this week's quick brief is nice and simple. So the product for this week is Domesto's hospital grade bleach.
All you need to produce is a poster with the only mandatory being to include the logo.
And the single-minded proposition for this one is for the cleanest toilet. So this is very similar to the Week 1 award score brief for Windex. And so let's just take a look at some of the Windex responses that got on the national wall for scamp examples.
These are some of my favourites. There was a lot of really similar ones on the wall, including birds and stuff. Bit basic, but these are some of the good ones that I enjoyed. So this brief this week is pretty easy, so definitely a good one to have a crack at, especially with your folios being due soon. I know you guys are sick of us banging on about it and probably sound like a bit of a broken record, but we were there last year and it's not fun to leave them till the last minute. if you could just, and we want to showcase your work on the show. So if you do this one, quickly whip it up, send it in, and we'll pop your scamps on next week's show. They don't have to be black and white. You can add some colour. You can leave them black and white. Up to you.
Yeah, agreed. And if you need any more info or just some general advice, please send us a message on the Instagram over here. We also really want to keep pushing for fan art. Please, it makes doing this show so worthwhile, and we're not getting paid any money, so at least, the least you can do is pay us with artistic tributes.
You could pay us actually with money. My BSB is 633 000. Account number is 150 955 581.
This is a cry for help.
Please. Pay me. I can't work because I'm doing Hungry Talks all the time. Anyway, fan art is also fine if you want to do that. We've only got 3 episodes left, so get them in. Also, don't hesitate to send in fan art in like 2 years. No worries. We'll take fan art until we're dead. Additionally, if Cooper keeps making new comic episodes, we will get it printed, turn it into a book, and you can purchase it and read it until, before bed every night.
Yeah.
How's that sound?
I reckon that sounds great.
Yeah.
That could become a family relic.
Yeah, I think put it into the NTV.
Anyway, big love to you guys.
Thank you for
Kisses
tuning in
from
and
us.
staying to the end.